It's good.
Very good.
Very good.
It's good.
It's good.
Very good.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of This Is My Bourbon podcast, where we discuss the spirit of Kentucky. My name's Perry. Thank you guys so much for being here with me and Marv, the adopted dog of the
I guess
show.
so, yeah.
Yes, yeah, he's hanging out with us. I got Curtis with me tonight, or today, or whenever you're listening.
Tonight, it's the evening.
Yeah, it's night for us, yeah.
That's fine.
And we're welcoming a very special guest with us on the show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Matt Leonard of Knoxville, Tennessee. I very nearly said Knoxville, Kentucky. I just want to go ahead and throw that out there and realize that I was very wrong with that statement. But anyway, Matt, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me,
You're very welcome. So we are going to be chatting some with Matt about mixology and cocktail crafting, which is basically just me saying synonyms back to back. But we're going to have a really good time with this episode, I think. And to kick things off as our first pour, we're going to be trying just some regular old Blantons. And the reason because... some regular old Blantons. Nothing special, just, it is what it is. And the reason that we're doing this is because Matt brought a pick... from his bar, which is the Kern Library.
That's correct.
Out in Knoxville, of Blanton's. So I just wanted to kind of prep our palates for something different by trying something somewhat familiar. Which one did I pour? Oh, there we go. Never mind. And that should be about even. Kurt's not driving, so I'll give him a little bit more.
Well, thank you, Perry.
Hey, you're welcome. I want to point out...
You're so kind.
I try. So I want to point out, by the way, that I brought airplane bottles of Blanton's. And aren't these little corks just the cutest thing?
Dude, the whole thing, the bottles in general.
I love that they're so tiny and for anybody who's knows Blanton's bottles, the corks have the jockey with the horse and little letters on them too, but
do they have little letters?
Not these, not the airplane bottles,
but the big ones do.
No, the big ones do. What's the letter on that one?
We have an A today.
Okay, fantastic. I haven't seen
fantastic.
an A in a while.
I love A's.
A's are always
A's are always better than the N's
or the B's,
Yes.
or the L's,
or the T's.
O's,
or S's,
or T's. Yes, there's also an S in there. Anyway, okay.
You know what's funny about that? This will be really quick. So when I went to Buffalo Trace, I had Freddie, and
you did have Freddie.
Yeah, I had Freddie.
Jealous.
He's awesome, the coolest dude ever. And for those who don't know Freddie's like third generation who has been working for Buffalo Trace, and like his great grandpa helped like create it and all that. Anyway, he was working in the warehouses and stuff.
Yeah.
But like he helped with the creation and things like that. Anyway, he said that some people actually like call in and they go, "Hey, I'm really looking for just the N," and he goes, "Well, we don't. That's not how we do things." And they're like, "Well, I swear that the N's are better. They're always better."
Then what?
And
then the bottles with...
Well, she thought that it was the letters. And he's like, "Oh, I think you might have just gotten like two of the same barrel rather than the letter that we put the cork in." But that just... Anyway,
that's
a really
so funny though.
Story. Yeah.
I love that people go, "Yeah, this is definitely what it is." This makes perfect sense. But, go ahead.
What's even crazier is like people collect like each of the letters because by the time that you get done, it spells Blanton's out.
Yep.
And I think that there's two N's in Blanton's, and the other N looks different than the other one.
It does.
And we had these ladies come into the bar one night, and they were really serious about trying to find like the second in,
Jeez.
and they're like, we never can
need
find
it.
it.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we have a barrel, as they knew, and we keep all the tops. So like we pulled out like all of these like giant store and pours of like Blanton's tops.
That's awesome.
And found them for them, and
Nice.
they were super
Nice.
pumped. So
Cool.
So let's go ahead and take a good whiff of this here Blanton single barrel. Are you getting much on the nose?
No.
No, I'm not
I don't-
either.
I want to say it's
It's
because
strange.
it's like,
But
it
these tiny
shouldn't
bottles.
It shouldn't be
Yeah.
that. Like, as we just got done talking about the letters, and we're
Sorry, I just got a little bit of like the heat straight up on the nose.
Does it usually smell like this?
No,
I don't think the nose ever smells
No.
like this.
I don't know. Maybe we just got a bad couple of airplane bottles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still getting a little bit of like caramel and vanilla, but nothing terribly aggressive, I guess.
No.
Aggressive is not the right word, but I just mean like it's just not very substantial.
I mean, what do you think?
maybe a little vanilla.
Yeah.
Corny.
Yeah.
It smells like
Definitely
bourbon.
smell corn.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Um,
does.
Yeah.
But like,
I just remember the last time I had Blanton's.
Being
think
more
it's-
significant than
Yeah,
this?
more significant.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Well, let's take a sip and see if the palate lives up to the lack of nose. I would say in this case, the palate is definitely,
Definitely better.
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Some of the heat that I was getting on the nose is kind of sticking around on the palate, but not so much so that it's kind of overpowering or everything or anything. It's 93 proof. It's not like it's going to be,
Shocking.
aggressive. Yeah. But I still maintain my theory that I presented last week of maybe adding water to bourbon messes with the proof of it and makes it hotter.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
I don't know.
Put some water in it.
Put some water in it. Try it. I don't know. I'm not overly impressed with it this time. I've had Blanton so many times before, and I've always been like, yeah, this is pretty good. But this time I'm like, I don't know. Guys, consensus? Should we move on to something else?
I think that's my consensus is like,
We're all like,
I like
what?
Blanton's,
Yeah, I do too.
but this doesn't. This
Something's
seems
wrong.
different.
I think we got a bad barrel. I really think
think?
that something was off with this one. Now, like I said, we have 375s of it. Or no, excuse me,
No,
we have
we-
50
mils.
milliliters.
Yeah.
But I would bet that it comes from the same barrel because I mean it was in the store at the same time. But I don't know.
I couldn't imagine them like sourcing like a bad batch in like airplane bottles like that. That just
You would hope not,
Right.
but I mean it.
But I guess if you got to get rid of it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not,
exactly.
I'm not trying to
Exactly.
say that, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
but
I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, let's.
I mean, do you think it?
I think it's good. I don't think that.
You don't think it's as bad as we're making it out to be?
Is it just different?
I think maybe just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a little bit of funk to it too. And now that it's starting to sit here and open up, Marv's whining at us. But on the note of the bourbon, as it's sitting here and opening up, I think that some of what I expect from Blanton's is coming through, but it's just not. Something's lacking with this. Something is wrong. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
Nose is falling flat for me.
Yeah, I'm and I usually go, hey, you should really try Blanton's because it's usually pretty good. But like based on this experience, I'm just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know what I'm really excited for?
This pick. Yeah, let's
That
check
pick.
out this
We'll do
pick,
the pick.
why don't we? So as I said before, Matt is from Peter Kern Library in Knoxville, Tennessee. So Matt, as you are opening this bottle, why don't you tell us a little bit about Peter Kern?
So we are a pre-prohibition style cocktail bar. We also double as a nationally ranked bourbon bar. We're in the top 75 bourbon bars in the United States of America.
Think we need to visit?
You guys should totally visit. Everybody should come out and hang out. We have a library theme bar.
That's awesome.
So
I love libraries.
All of our cocktails that we've came up with are named after different literary characters.
Huh.
So as you thumb through the encyclopedia that is our menu, the first 3 pages are cocktails we've collectively came up with, and you have all kinds of different characters from Daisy Buchanan from The Great Gatsby to
Fantastic.
We used to have we still have the Piter de Vry, which is from Dune. So like
Okay.
I've actually never read or seen Dune.
either.
It's
I
like
haven't
super
either.
deep
Yeah.
sci-fi.
I
But
was just going to go along with you to be polite,
Yeah.
but
I was nodding my head like, oh, yes.
I
Yeah,
totally
Dune.
know. I totally know.
Everybody
Dune, of
knows
course.
Dune.
Yes.
Now, have you had this pick before of Blanton's?
I have had the pick.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I did not get to go on the trip that 75% of the company went on. I got left
Well, that's
to work
unfortunate.
because at the time I was the newest guy on the block. So
Well, I'm super excited for this then. I'm actually going on a Buffalo Trace pick on Friday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wait, I
Nice.
think you just gave your glass away to Curt there, Matt.
sorry, guys. I'm a bartender. I try to be polite.
You're a noob. I'm just kidding. You're not. Okay, well, the nose is certainly a lot better. Curt, did you just lean into my glass to get a sniff? Is that what you just did?
I did a little bit of...
I saw that.
I would like to smell
that. Like for a second, I felt really rude that I didn't like offer any to you, and then I was like, no, wait, this is my glass. The nose is really fruity.
Oh, yeah.
I get a lot of fruit on the nose.
This is what I want. See?
Yeah,
Like, this is what I want.
this is what we were aiming for.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there some honey on the nose too?
I could see honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the sugary sweetness of it that might come from the barrel, but
Yeah. Honey, and Tanner said this, which I've never used it, but
honeysuckle?
hibiscus.
Oh, hibiscus.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so specific, but I totally get
But
that. though.
you can
No, I
relate,
totally
right?
get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, in honor of having Matt in town,
For sure.
cheers.
Cheers.
Guys, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Welcome-
having me.
Welcome to the podcast and to the bar.
So happy to be here.
So much better.
Man.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
From like mouthfeel to like flavor, like the richness,
To
like
finish
yeah.
to
So much better.
Yeah.
golly, man. Oh, that's so good. I will say that, like, I think though that like I actually don't like the mouthfeel on this as much. I think the mouthfeel is a little bit thin. It does coat the tongue super well, but I think that like, and it's probably a factor of proof in that it doesn't, push itself all the way through in terms of like tongue coatingness.
you don't get all those tannins that you would if it was a little
exactly,
higher. Yeah.
exactly. But I think that it does a much better job of being just a more pleasing bourbon. I just think this is.
I mean, definitely.
I like this better than the one we just had for sure. And maybe we just had a bad single barrel, but
True.
either way, what do you think, Curt?
I mean, this is just, it's so much better than what I just had.
Yeah.
That's what I can't, like,
Yeah.
I can't put into words. I'm like, man, what we just had was like, fell flat of everything I wanted. And this one just really, the nose, you get all the caramel, the floral, the hibiscus, all of that. It smells really good.
The floralness of it really does shine
Yeah.
through, I think. I wouldn't say that there's a whole lot of barrel influence necessarily. Like I don't smell much like oakiness. But
no,
that's,
but
that's not
also
to the
sitting
detriment
at
of
93 proof, like you're probably
Sure.
you're not going to get a ton of it.
Sure.
Anyway.
And that's not to the detriment of the bourbon either. I think that it's, it stands very well on its own, regardless of whether or not you can smell any kind of oak flavor
Yeah.
on it. Right? Yeah. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know. Go to Peter Kern Library in Knoxville, Tennessee,
For
and
sure.
check out this pick. Do you mind if I look at the
The
bottle?
finish.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Finish, Kurt. What were you saying?
Yeah, the finish is like silky smooth. I love it.
Dumped on October 19th, 2017. For anybody who cares.
And I think on the finish you start to get more of those barrel notes. I think that's where
Yeah,
I start
think
to
so too.
start to taste it.
And on the back end of, I always like to split up the palate into 3 different sections, like front, middle, and back. And I think on the back end is where I start to get a lot of the sugary honey notes on it too, and that kind of evaporates into the finish as well. But I'm thoroughly impressed.
Nice.
Y'all did a good job with this one.
It's funny that you pick out so much honey because we did a Sazerac cocktail class where you paid X amount of dollars and you showed up to Peter Kern Library, and Kevin, our head librarian, and myself, we put on a cocktail class where you walked in the door and the first thing that you got was a Blanton's Gold Rush. So 2 ounces of Blanton's, 3/4 ounce of lemon, and 3/4 ounce of honey syrup.
Huh.
We use like clover honey 1-to-1 ratio with hot water.
That sounds awesome.
Oh, it's great, yeah.
I want to try that.
For sure.
Everybody came in and they were like, "What? This is
Can
how
we
it
have
starts."
more?
We
Yeah.
might have to make that ourselves sometime in the
Yeah,
future.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
That is interesting that we got the honey from just the pick, but also
So what's going on with the palates then down at Peter Kern Library, where they they're real big on the honey there?
yeah.
All right, well, fair enough. I dig it.
How many cocktails have honey on your
Every single
menu
one.
here?
Every single one.
Out of the 30, not 100%. So
That was a very like politician's answer.
it wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very good, like, very well thought out on the fly.
Well, it's some, but not all, but definitely not none.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess you're just gonna have to find
neither
out
here
yourself.
nor there.
Yeah, exactly.
But in between, but not in between.
So we're just gonna see. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll leave it at that.
So before we get into really talking with Matt, I got to ask you guys what you've been drinking recently. And Kurt, because you
Kurt's
are
had a good-
you're a veteran of the show, so you get to answer first.
All right. Well, Kurt's had a good like bourbon hunting and just like
Yes, Kurt
just
has.
an all around sort of what I've been drinking.
Yeah.
So I left my number with a liquor store, and they ended up calling me because I was looking for Weller when I first went in. This was like a month ago, and so I walked in, left my number, and then they called me last Friday and were like, "Hey, we got Weller 12. Do you want it?" Well, duh. So I went and got it.
Why not?
Yeah. So I went and got that, and then I just was like messing around. I just wanted to see what all I could find at just other different places. So I ended up picking up the Weller 12, but also the barrel pick that that same liquor store had that they had just gotten. And if I remember right, he said it was a 13-year, 120 proof.
Nice.
It was just really good.
That's
Which I'm
fantastic.
interested to try to see if it compares to yours a little
Yeah,
bit.
and we might do it a little side by side a little bit later on in the show because I did actually bring my pick of Knob Creek, that
Which was not
Curtis and
planned. We didn't plan that.
No, did not plan
No.
that at all. So, you know what? I like to do things on the fly, so there's a good chance that that's actually going to happen.
Yeah. And then I went to my local Rite Aid store, which is just down the street. And I
Like
walked in.
across the street, practically.
Yeah,
for
pretty
you.
much. And I walked in not expecting anything. I was picking up daiquiris for the pool me and my girlfriend were going to the pool that day. And I started looking around. And I was like, we'll see what they have. Probably nothing. And then I looked in the front, and they had Weller just special. It was just Weller Special Reserve.
Still,
but,
though.
Yeah. But they
Still.
had like 2 175s and like 3/5 of it. So I was like, how often do you guys get this? And they were like, we don't. This is like every 4 or 5 months. And I was like,
Yeah.
just go ahead.
Nice.
Just go ahead and give me
Yeah.
that.
I get it.
Yeah.
And that was what, like $30 too?
$30.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And the Weller 12 was 32.
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah. Can't go wrong. Man.
Yeah. Not going to pay $100.
No, Kurt had a good
Yeah.
little hunting spree.
Yes.
here
And that's all I
recently.
got.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
maybe I should move to Kentucky.
Maybe so.
Well, unfortunately,
Maybe.
you're moving from Knoxville to Nashville.
Right,
So,
yeah.
But I was saying to Matt earlier, we were having a couple of drinks at OBC in Lexington, which if you've never been to Lexington or never been to OBC before, I talk about it all the time, but you definitely need to go and check them out. My favorite bourbon bar in Lexington by far.
Yeah.
Best selection.
Well,
possible.
Pretty much like specifically to bourbon too.
Sure,
Like, every other
sure.
place doesn't really have.
No. But we were talking about Nashville's burgeoning bourbon scene, and they're really starting to take a hold of bourbon and make it their own, and are enjoying that culture.
See, which I hadn't
Dude.
heard that.
Yeah.
Like, could you go into like a little more of how it's like progressed and?
Well, he's not actually been in Nashville very
Well,
long.
yeah, I'm
but,
just meaning like I guess in Tennessee in general.
Yeah, definitely talk about Tennessee's
More the bourbon scene
like
than that.
journey, not necessarily just with bourbon, but with whiskey too, because like they had the Tennessee whiskey trail open recently too.
Right, yeah. Which, like, even though I work in the industry, like, I still have not heard a lot about the Tennessee Whiskey Trail, if I'm being completely honest, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, we tried.
Yeah. But
Well, you guys have a big bourbon library.
we do, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that's a big thing too. It's like just to show that bourbon's not just a Kentucky commodity. I mean, it really is expanding. I mean, that's of course, a product of the boom. And I almost said boom at the same time that thunder just
boom.
hit. Did you
Yeah.
hear that? Yeah. As the bourbon boom is hitting, it's not just a Kentucky thing. I mean, it is going pretty much nationwide all the way to globally.
Yeah.
Too, but I think that people are really trying to grasp onto that, regardless of whether or not it's bourbon. I mean, people like the Tennessee is what I said originally.
Yeah.
The Tennessee whiskey trail. I mean, that's definitely a product of the idea of trying to make something cool out of. Oh, what's wrong, Marv?
Nobody's paying attention to him. Is what's wrong.
Man. I think it is part of the boom, but it also is. You don't get bourbon. Just that expansion of the field and everything.
Yeah.
Too, but
it's really funny. We get, so I would say a good portion of our guests that we have at Peter Kern Library are people coming in from out of town, like on business. Because we
Okay.
are like a boutique hotel, and then of course everybody in the area is like, oh, if you like to drink, this is the place to go.
sure.
Yeah.
So we get people from all over the world all the time, and Knoxville has had this really interesting amount of growth in the last really even 2 years, but I would say on a larger scale, 5. And a lot of it is based off of Blackberry Farm in Walden, Tennessee. The chefs out there are absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of talent coming out of there. And then a lot of those guys that have been there have now went and opened their own restaurants. So there's a lot of really awesome places to go and have food. And then we're right in the epicenter of that. So, but people come in all the time and they say, hey, I'm in bourbon country now. Show me a bourbon. Or, hey, this is Tennessee. I want to drink some Tennessee whiskey. And people are super excited about it from, if they're from California or Montana or
Really?
Germany even. Like, it's really crazy just how excited people are about bourbon.
Who are these people going? Bourbon is synonymous with Tennessee, though. Like who are these people? We need to talk to them.
Yeah, well, I think it just gets lumped in.
No, I understand. It is all the same region.
Everyone
and
just.
everything.
Well, I think people who don't really know a ton about bourbon or whiskey, they don't know the differentiation
Sure.
between
Right.
it. So they're just like, that bourbon stuff. That's
or that
good.
rye bourbon. I've heard a lot about. Like,
Oh,
I don't really like those
no.
rye bourbons.
Yeah, yeah.
no.
If I had $1 for every time I've heard that,
Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
because they don't know. But it's funny because it's like they hear somebody say something about it, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get into that." And so then they start to get into it, and then it's just the education process.
it is.
I mean,
It totally is. But it just kind of it makes me roll my eyes a little bit, which is super snobby of me. But it does. I'm like,
yeah,
all
if,
right,
if Tanner were here,
all
he'd be like,
right, yeah, I get it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. before we move on to our next pour, I got to ask Matt, too, what you've been drinking recently.
So, like you said earlier, I am moving.
Yes.
So I'm trying to clear out my home bar. So it's been like an assortment of things. Like last night, I had picked up this Blanton's and still had it closed. And I was like, well, we're drinking it tomorrow. Like, I kind of want to drink it now just because we're drinking it tomorrow. But
Hey, man, go ahead.
I ended up having like a Weller Special Reserve, and killed the bottle of that. So like just slowly, like one bottle at a time. Like, oh, that's got like a little bit in it. Like, I'm gonna work that out. But I came across 2 bottles at Peter Kern of Michter's 10-year single barrel that we've just been sitting on for years. That have just been sitting in the cage.
Nobody. Just like
Nobody's doing anything with it. And I was like, hey, what are we doing with this?
Matt, why didn't you bring it? Michter's 10 is one of my favorite bourbons.
I love it too.
It's so good, man.
I
I
get
haven't had
like
it, so
Oh, dude. Okay, I have a sample.
I've been
from-
looking all over for it.
It's so
for
hard to
it.
find.
I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't find it.
I have a
though.
sample from last year that I'll
Okay.
bring and share with you.
Gotcha.
nice. The one that I've been drinking on, it's like double bubble gum. Like, you know when you unroll that like weird wad of bubble gum and you
that
like get that
smell.
like powder that pops out?
Yep.
Yeah.
It tastes just like that smell. Like
That's
it's so
awesome.
great.
That's awesome. Real quick before we move on to our next pour, what I've been drinking recently, I've of course been drinking more of that Booker's we had last week.
Yes.
I also recently got these 200 ml bottles of it. There were 4 different ones. There was a very old Barton 6-year, an age-stated Old Taylor, which was 6 years as well, an Old Granddad bottled and bond, and a Heaven Hill bottled and bond as well. Those 4 are not made in 200 mils anymore. And the Heaven Hill was from, at the latest, 2010. And then everything else was pre-2010.
Nice.
And that Heaven Hill was just exceptional. And I put it up against I just poured some of the Heaven Hill bottled and bond 6-year for us, too, to try next. And I'll explain why in a second. Excuse me. But it easily blew this out of the water.
Really?
Yeah. It was really different, and I kind of wonder how old it actually is. I wish I had a little bit more information on it, but we'll have it on the show sometime soon because I have those other bottles as well that I want to just kind of run through and check out together. But anyway, so the reason I poured this Heaven Hill bottled and bond is because if I'm mixing bourbon, and we had this discussion earlier too, Matt. If I'm mixing bourbon, I don't want to go below 100 proof.
Yeah.
Your ideal then is going to be a bottled and bond product because, of course, they're all going to be 100 proof. But
Wait, is that what bottle and bond is?
it is. Curtis, welcome to This Is My Bourbon podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Wow.
Did you know it also has to be 4 years old?
No.
Did you know that it has to be distilled in one single distilling season?
What?
With one distiller? Wait. Anyway, so
Under government
you were doing
supervision.
so
under
good.
government
Yeah,
supervision.
yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. Yeah. Gee whiz, sorry. I had it and then I lost it very quickly there.
Hey, we're all about the education here. So
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So I tend to mix if I mix anything, and I normally just drink bourbon neat. I mean, there isn't a whole lot of cocktail mixing that goes on at my house. I prefer Heaven Hill bottled and bond. It's cheap. It's going to present those bourbon flavors that you want, maybe in a spirit forward cocktail. High proof, of course.
Yep.
Higher proof, rather.
Yeah.
And I just like this bourbon. I mean, like we've talked about it so many times on the show before. I just really like this bourbon. It's kind of a go-to for me.
I mean, the nose is really good.
It's super sweet.
super sweet.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of like More darker notes, though.
Yeah.
Like more of a chocolatey, sweet.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And like a dark berry
Yeah.
kind of hint to it as well.
I really enjoy. Yeah. That's what
Yeah.
I get in that berry.
It almost smells like just a pie,
Yeah.
like a dark berry pie. But-
Or like cherry. Like dark cherry, like
too.
Martian
Yeah,
cherry.
for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
sure.
I love the nose on this. I've been sitting here like nose straight.
Yeah,
just
I
like,
know.
"Ah."
I like the palate on it even more than I do the nose.
Really? I haven't tasted it yet, so.
Well, you've had it before, but I mean, you're going to drink it again right now, and he's going to tell us what he thinks about it right now.
I like the nose better than the palate.
Oh,
I think
really?
the palate's like really
Yeah.
good.
No, I think the palate is super full. Matt, thoughts?
See, I'm
throw it to Matt.
on the front, I think that's where I'm getting a lot of those flavors, which I'm loving. I think as you go further back, that's when I'm starting to lose a little bit of it. Maybe just me.
I actually
but-
disagree.
Really?
I think the middle of the palate is where all the flavor tends to hang out.
Okay.
Personally,
I could agree with that. But like even like it's right before the back of the throat, like the very back of the tongue, you can almost get like a little bit of coffee.
I see that.
Yeah.
Like espresso.
yeah,
almost. Like
yeah.
a very dark roast.
not that
coffee.
light roast.
Yeah.
Coffee
None of that
shop
blonde.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I like blonde roast. I do. I like coffee in all of its many shapes and forms and sizes.
And roast.
And roasts.
You forgot the key one there.
Sorry. This is just a very good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And at,
It really is. And for the price,
at $12 a bottle,
man.
Yeah.
it's just sinful. Like I
It
would
is.
I would go, you know what? Just give me a whole case.
You know what? We should probably stop talking about it because
We
it's
probably
going to
should.
become just like the Henry
It's going to be the next Henry McKenna at some point. I mean, granted, this is only available in Kentucky. So, I mean, we at least have that going for us, but
I will leave this state with one of these bottles.
I think you
Yes,
probably
yeah.
should. I think you probably should.
Even though I already have one at my house. Like I just don't know when I'm going to come back to Kentucky,
Yeah. And you said you were
Understandable.
killing all your bottles, so like,
It's true. I keep adding things
so you got to
too.
bring it back.
Yeah, my wife is really unhappy with like the fluctuation. I did just give away a case and a half of booze though, so
Nice.
there is that.
So you owe yourself something.
You've been generous, so give back to yourself.
Yeah.
Right? I don't like
Yeah.
the way that sounded. I don't know. Giving back to yourself just sounds dirty. Anyway, hey, Matt, one of the things we like to ask people when they first come on the show is, how did you get into bourbon? So, Matt, how'd you get into bourbon?
So I got into bourbon the same way I got into bartending, completely by accident.
By chance? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It was one of those things like whiskey's always been around me. Like my whole family drinks whiskey. They drink bourbon. They drink Tennessee whiskey a lot too. Jack and George are both allegedly my cousins
Okay.
in like a proverbial sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So
I thought maybe it was like a family.
I thought
a
it was
family
literal.
rumor that was just like, yeah, we're related.
yeah, no, not quite.
Yeah.
I'm George Dickel the Fourth.
like Stanley Yelnats from Holes,
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. It's all
Yeah.
the same name.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So
Anyway.
so yeah, I started bartending, and I just kept going down different rabbit holes of like different spirits, and a lot of that was I just got thrown into this position of like running a beverage program way too early in my career, and it was like I have to know everything, and I have to know everything now. So like I just basically would take like 3 weeks and go down a rabbit hole, and 3 weeks and go down a rabbit hole, and I spent a lot of time with all of our distributors in Knoxville, and they would come by and bring all kinds of different products for us. And I got the chance to try a lot of stuff in a very short amount of time because we were always rotating product and doing every week we would do a flight of something. So one flight, it was a flight of bourbon or like non-Kentucky bourbon. That was like the first one we did. where we pulled like High West and I don't remember what else, but I know there was definitely 2 High West products on there.
Breckenridge, maybe?
Breckenridge, yeah. And did that, and then kind of did like an educational piece with it. Mm-hmm. So that was really like the inception of my my bourbon loving part of my career.
Sure.
And just as time has gone on, like it's became more of a demand, especially being at Peter Kern. Like I need to be up to date. We have so much booze there to sell, and if I can't tell you, hey, you should purchase this over this $13 product. If I can sell you a $100 pour of whiskey, then that's me definitely doing my job. So
sure. And I think not a responsibility, but a part of your job too, as a bartender, a mixologist, or whatever, is to go, well, what do you like?
Right.
And if somebody says, and I'm using this specifically because this is how it happened for me. The bartender asked, what do you like? And I said, Bullet. And they go, well, we have something that's high rye, and it was a Four Roses pick that was similar in profile to Bullet, but just kind of amped up what I liked about it and made it even better. And I think that you, as a bartender, have that opportunity to go, hey, you should really try this because you like this, Yeah. So I think that's a big part, too, of you going, well, I have to know what's on our bar at all times. I have to know.
Yeah.
If there are 100 bottles up there, I have to know every single one of them.
Right.
By heart. And I can't imagine, being able to know anything outside of bourbon.
Yeah, that's
because we're so well versed in bourbon, but like having to know gin and rum and I mean just everything across the spectrum.
It's crazy.
I mean, it would just I would just crumble under the pressure.
I've been in the process of reading through the CSS handbook. I don't know if you guys are familiar with.
I'm not. No.
I'll tell everybody since there's other people too.
You may as well.
Yeah.
Yes. There's Mark.
So it's the certified spirit specialist. And it's done by the Society of Wine Educators. Mm-hmm. And it's like the equivalent of taking a sommelier role upon your name, but through the world of spirits. Oh, okay. So I've been reading through this book, and it's like 200 pages, and it's so dense. And you go through, and it starts with the process of distillation and like history of alcohol, and then you go into like vodka, you go into gin, you get into like absinthe, and
wow,
it's so crazy.
Awesome.
Like going through, and then of course whiskey and cognac are like the thickest page, like
of course,
thickest portion of the book.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, just talking about like knowing all of those things, like that in itself is a full-time job.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, let alone knowing how to mix all of those things, and let alone.
And I think as it is kind of with Marv, you almost knocked off our microphones, buddy.
Here, I'm gonna put him away.
All right. I think as it is with any, I wouldn't say good, but like worthwhile profession, you constantly have to learn. And you constantly have to expand your vocabulary to, not only provide yourself with a better opportunity, but to provide other people with a better experience.
Right.
So I think that like if you as a bartender, as a mixologist, or whatever you want to call it, are not doing yourself that favor, you're therefore not doing your patrons that favor as well. I just want to jump back into this real quick. I'm starting to get a whole lot of peanut butter on the finish. Is anybody else getting that, or is it just me? Like
it's definitely opened up now.
Yeah, the more that I've sat here and drank on this Heaven Hill Bottle and Bond, the more I've started getting like really nutty, just specifically peanut buttery notes to it as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
No, I definitely get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't seem convinced though.
I don't feel convinced, but
Well, that's just me then. Anyway. So, talk a little bit, too, about what it is about your... Because every mixologist has a different approach to their craft. Talk about what it is that separates your craft as a mixologist, as a bartender, from somebody else. Like, what makes what you do special? How do you take it and make and put your own spin on it?
That's hard. Because I feel like I would have to ask myself like a couple of questions in that process. But
Sure.
I'll be glad to kind of talk a little bit about my brand.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, like what I'm trying to accomplish maybe on a larger level, and a lot of the reason I've been doing a lot of cocktail competitions is I'm really interested in elevating things that people are already familiar with. Like, so one of the high aha moments for me at Peter Kern and being at Peter Kern was how blown away people are by our whiskey sour, and it's super simple.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's, we do egg white in our whiskey sour.
That was my first question. Do you use egg white?
Yeah. We do lemon juice, simple syrup, and then whiskey, and then do a dry shake, do a wet shake, and double strain, and let the egg white separate. And then we drizzle a little bit of traditional maraschino macerated juice right on top, and do like a design on top. And it looks pretty. It looks great, but I mean, it's super simple.
Yeah.
And people are super pumped about it.
Mm-hmm. It's still a whiskey sour.
It's still a whiskey sour, yeah.
But it sounds to me like it's a little bit sweeter.
Yeah, you get that maraschino on the top and like, yeah. So like that's really nice. Like trying to just elevate things like that.
Sure.
Or like even like somebody asked for an espresso martini the other day, and I was like, cool, we don't actually have espresso to make espresso martinis, but I could make you something that would resemble a espresso martini. Is there anything in particular about that like you wouldn't want to have?
Sure.
And they're like, no. And I'm like, awesome. So I...
Great, you're giving me nothing.
That makes it super easy on me.
Patron XO.
Daggone.
And Yeho tequila. A little bit of coffee liqueur that we've made in-house.
Okay.
And port. And I think I may or may not have put a whole egg in there. I don't remember. I made it on the fly.
Yeah.
And I was
a
like...
whole egg, not just the white?
Yeah, like a flip.
Gosh.
Like a flip. So like the ultimate like dessert, like nightcap cocktail. And like that's something that I love doing. Like I definitely have a passion for that. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm trying to figure out how to create like an egg white yogurt. And then put whiskey caviar on top with like maybe aromatic bitter in the mix.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
You think
as
so?
As soon as you figure that out, let me know because I really want to try that.
Oh,
I will let you know. The idea...
This is a whole new world for me because I'm so used to just being like, give it to me neat, give it to me neat, give it to me neat.
Maybe on the rocks.
Maybe on the rocks.
Maybe hard maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like maybe with a little
or
bit
like old fashioned, please.
Yeah.
Like, and I get that's just me not knowing enough and not having the knowledge of like what all can be done through mixology and like cocktail craft. Like this is a whole new world. And, like I don't know any other place to like in Lexington to get what we'll be getting. Like if I went to Peter Kern and was like, I know that I'm going to get some really awesome drinks. No matter what, I could walk in there and be like, "Hey, I don't really know what I want, but I want something good."
Yeah.
I know it's going to be great. If I walk into a cocktail bar here, at least I feel. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I would be like, "Hey, I want something really good," and I'd be like, "Oh, this is all right."
Yeah. Matt, do you find it challenging when somebody comes in and goes, "I like X, Y, and Z. Make something out of it"?
It depends. It depends on if those things don't go together at all. Because then it is difficult. And just to follow up on two things, and then I can continue on that.
Sure.
The like that whiskey caviar mix. I got the idea from our chef actually. So we were discussing like different culinary techniques that are really popular amongst the chefs at Alinea and the bartenders at the Aviary in Chicago, and we had that conversation over the course of a beer or two, and then just to kind of like round out the rest of my personal brand. I think it's really important not to forget like the hospitality side of like being a bartender, because like you can know how to make something ridiculous like egg white yogurt with like lemon in it and then put whiskey caviar on top and think you're awesome, but like at the end of the day, like if you come in and you just want like, I don't know, vodka and Sprite.
Never gonna happen with me, but okay.
Like a vodka cranberry.
Yeah, like a vodka cranberry. Like maybe you just really want a vodka cranberry, and then like you're gonna order like 3 pours of a LaRue. It normally doesn't happen that way, but like sometimes things happen. So,
well, I think too that like, and there have been so many situations where I've gone to a bar and ordered a cocktail or just a glass of bourbon, and the bartender's like, here you go, on to the next one, but there is something to be said exactly about the hospitality, and to just be able to like have that conversation with somebody and know that they care about what they're doing and know that they care about your experience with it too. Did you have something you wanted to say?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was just I guess the only thing I would add was like, and knowing that they have dedicated like a whole career to kind of knowing like what people like in the hospitality and how to, cater to a patron, that's awesome as well. And very hard to find.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, how many bars have we been in where they're just,
it's tough because it's like, you can't really consider them, bars, like cocktail bars that are like gonna know. True. At least from my experience, which is limited.
It's definitely a different tree. Like I think with the world of bartending, you have like a couple different trees of like skill sets. Like if you guys ever played WoW or something like an RPG like that,
sure, yeah.
And you know how you put like
not
different
WoW specifically, but yes,
yeah. It's okay. I wouldn't.
World of Warcraft for the layman.
So like like in RPGs or like Skyrim, you put you'll put points into like different trees, and that makes you better at something. So I think that within the world of bartending, you have a couple of trees that you can go into. You can go into flair. You can go into working in dives.
Sure.
You can go into working in like super nice craft cocktail bars, really great fine dining restaurants with like a really strong wine program,
right?
And then maybe like after dinner drinks like cognac, and then like flair, like the guys in Las Vegas that are just throwing bottles like. Yeah, that watched Cocktail with Tom Cruise, and like they're like, that's what I want to do with my life.
Yeah,
and then sometimes they overlap a little,
like the the bartender that John Taffer. Is his name John Taffer
on Bar Rescue?
From Bar Rescue, yeah.
Yeah, like brings in that bartender, and he's always just like throwing bottles.
I would really like to know what his cocktails taste like. Like, are they any good?
I'm sure they're good.
Yeah. Well, maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday.
Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
I just want to say, if that guy's listening, DM me on Instagram. I want to. We'll
come on the show too.
We'll get some of your cocktails and see.
Exactly.
See what's going on.
So, when did you go? Because I think we all kind of have that aha moment with things. Where we go, this makes sense to me, and this is what I was supposed to be doing. What was your aha moment with cocktail crafting? I know I'm asking like super deep questions of you.
No, it's
but,
okay.
Like,
it's okay.
I really want to know what is it that matters to you about cocktail crafting and separates you from other mixologists.
So I think a lot of it, at least in the city that I'm in right now, is and like I don't know how to say it without like I don't want to be pretentious about it.
It's okay.
You
It's
know,
okay. Take pride in what you do.
but like my ultimate goal is to end up working in a sales position where I can come in and give a bartender like myself now like an aha moment. So there's a guy named Lee Edwards. He works for Hazel Pens. And the first time that I met Lee, he showed up to my bar, and like the day before, my owner hits me up and he's like, "Hey, we have a vermouth tasting tomorrow." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
That's weird.
We're tasting vermouth?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Get out. Like, we're not doing that.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's sweet and there's dry, and that's all that there is
Right.
to it.
So this guy shows up with like 15-something bottles of like vermouth and of like different like quinas, which are kind of like vermouth, like aromatized wines in general.
Sure.
And like Genepi and like a bunch of like super weirdy ball stuff.
Yeah.
And
I do not like vermouth. Sweet or dry, I just do not like it very much. So, but
I mean, I don't either, but like I feel like he's about to be like, "Oh, you don't even know."
wait on it. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to it in a second, but go ahead.
so he comes in and he's got like a tackle box, like a giant tackle box. And it's just filled with different like little garnishes, like little mini garnishes. And we went through the entire tasting, and I never felt like I've learned so much from a human that would like, in a short amount of time, about spirits and booze in general. And that was kind of like my aha moment. Like, immediately it was like, okay, well, look, I'm super glad that I came to this. We're going to order this. We're going to order that. We're going to order this. And like completely changed the way that I saw like vermouth, which is like such a like super important like component, especially when you're talking about like, you know, New York brewer cocktails, for instance, like Manhattans, Bronx, Brooklyn's, you know, like those styled cocktails, like that format is all vermouth. Like you need vermouth in there in some way or like a fashion.
Sure.
And like that's where I want to go with my career, is like end up working for a company and a brand that like I really believe in, and like be behind that brand 100%, and then be able to show up and say, if you guys were bartenders, I could pull out my, you know, proverbial tackle box of
of garnishes,
and just blow your mind and give you like that aha moment. And like from that point on, I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing with my life. Like I'm in this industry, and I'm just gonna hustle, and I'm gonna hustle as hard as I can. And yeah, I mean I think that's like what distinguishes me from like other people, and like the ability to come in with like a story and be like a storyteller behind like whatever it is that I'm gonna do. Yeah. Like the last cocktail competition that I did, I made this cocktail that was based off of a Zac Brown band song, and it was the one about sticking your toes in the water and your ass in the sand.
Yeah. It's just called Toes, right?
Yeah, toes.
Yeah, toes. Yeah.
So I created a cocktail that was like my Mexican paradise.
Okay.
Which had nothing to do with like the beach. It had more to do with like the mountains and like terroir-driven spirits. So like that was like the whole structure of the cocktail, but like telling that story of like you know, a passion of mine through that drink and then through presentation, like, and having that like backbone of a story, or which is something that I learned from Woodford Reserve. Like,
interesting.
Being part of the Woodford Reserve Manhattan experience, like going in, like I had a story, and like granted, they didn't send me to Versailles, but like I learned so much and like made so many meaningful connections with people through that experience. So
yeah, it seems like the cocktail that you're making is like just like a cherry on top of what the experience that you're giving. It seems like, anyway. I mean, granted, I've never had a drink that you've made, but like it seems like you're telling a story. And
I want to now.
Yeah, exactly. and giving a narrative and like a hospitality sense of it, while being like, hey, by the way, this is just a really awesome drink. And then it seems like that's how, at least how you're describing it, it seems a little like that. Is that off base or a little on?
I mean, I think that's the goal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I
It's
went
the perfect
to...
marriage between everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I went to Hemingway's in South Nashville.
That's
And
awesome. I have heard amazing things about Hemingway's. I wish I've never been there before, but I have always wanted to go there.
in South Nashville?
Yeah.
You absolutely should.
I would love to.
Chris, that owns the place,
Mm-hmm.
super nice guy, great drinks. And, like, I remember looking at his menu, and, like, the menu is telling a story. And, like, I don't even think I read anything. Like, I think you get, like, the base spirit, if I remember correctly. And then everything else is a story.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like,
That's so cool.
that's great. Or John Howard from Henley in, I guess, Midtown area.
Okay.
Over by Vanderbilt in Nashville.
Okay.
I don't remember what... his whole menu is based on a story, too.
Sure.
But it's a historical event. So, like, if you drink the cocktails in order, like, you get, like, the experience of that historical event.
Yeah.
I guess you couldn't do it in a sitting. Like a really large book, you can't really do it. But,
Yeah.
you know... I think that's the goal, right? Like, that's the goal moving forward as, bartenders and chefs, and is to, like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
convey, like, a specific emotion through story, through the mouthpiece that is either food or drink.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to whittle down, and this might be too specific or too finite of a question, but if you were going to say, this is my story in a cocktail, or this is what best represents me in a cocktail, what would it be?
I don't think that I can answer. I don't think that everything would fit, like, the right way.
I think that's an okay answer, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we all have different facets of our experience, so...
I think that I could put together, like, a menu that was, like, genuinely me, but I don't think that, like, one drink would cut it, because
Do you have
there's...
a top three, then?
Of, like, classics or drinks that, like, I've came up with? Because I was thinking drinks that I have or would come up with.
Dealer's choice.
So, I definitely have, like, a list of 5 cocktails that are either classic or contemporary classic, meaning that they either were made, like, 100-plus years ago or by the Petrovsky line
Right.
of people.
Right.
I'm a huge fan of Sam Ross as a general whole. I was telling him earlier that one of my favorite cocktails is the Paper Plane. So,
Okay.
like, and it's one that, like, people in Knoxville and people who visit our bar don't know very well. But it's a bourbon cocktail, and people almost always ask for bourbon cocktails. So it's something not on the menu, and people can feel special about it. And they're like, hey, what's your favorite cocktail? And I'm like, I've probably got, like, 6. Like, that I can just name off, like, depending on mood. But Paper Plane's definitely one of them. It's bourbon, lemon, Aperol, and Amaro Nonino, equal parts across the board. Shaken, serve it in a coupe. It's
Sure.
incredible, especially if you use great bourbon. Highly recommended.
Highly recommend great
Yeah.
bourbon.
If you can get like
Always
a really
recommend
fruity
great
bourbon
bourbon.
in there,
Yeah.
oh man, it's a dream.
Which fruity bourbon? What would you say?
I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Go for it.
Yeah.
4 Roses.
4 Roses?
4 Roses.
4
Single
Roses
barrel.
would go up there. I was either gonna go small batch or single barrel.
Okay.
I was gonna go yellow light. I just snorted. That's terrible.
I heard that. But that's staying in though. I
I'm
just
just-
want to let you know that.
I was joking on that. Just really joking.
Anyway, fruity bourbon.
Yeah. Just across the board, like.
Well, I was asking him earlier too. What's his ideal bourbon for, like an old fashioned?
Mm-hmm.
And he said Weller 107,
Yeah.
which is like I agreed with him too. Is
Yeah.
a very fruity flavored bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see where you're going.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I'm on board. I'm on board for sure. Okay, one last question before we get to our review.
Okay.
Shaken or stirred?
Ooh. It depends on what it is. If I get,
I feel like all of these questions have been open ended, but
Yeah, just like
whatever.
I feel like if if you shook a Manhattan and you stirred a paper plane, like I don't think I would want either of them. But
Okay, well, shake or stir an old fashioned then.
oh, definitely stir an old fashioned. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't go about shaking that. There's nothing about that cocktail that should be shaken.
Even with an egg white.
Why do you need an egg white for an old fashioned?
I have heard from many people that their favorite old fashioned has been with an egg white before.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have homework there, Matt.
maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds odd to me.
I'm just going off of
For-
third hand information here. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say we really appreciate Matt for coming and hanging out with us. But we're not done yet. We have more bourbon to be drunk, consumed, whatever. And
Imbibed.
Yeah.
Curtis is going to provide us with our next bottle, I
Yes.
think, unless he's decided he doesn't want to.
No, we can definitely do it.
All right, sure. I hope you guys are ready for this. We've not actually had this on the show before.
Yes, and I've actually never had it. So
Okay, great.
that's fun.
Matt, have you had this?
I've had it once.
Okay.
Maybe
One time?
twice.
Okay.
Maybe.
I have worked my way through 2 bottles now, and I have 2 on reserve.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Swan the Bourbon Finder.
Yeah, thanks, Swan.
Which, speaking of which, if you should follow Swan too on Instagram.
Yeah.
He finds some crazy stuff.
It's really
He
awesome.
lives right next to and works right next to Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And he works at Kroger in Frankfurt, and just on his off days he goes and just looks for bourbon.
And it's great. And, it's,
Yeah.
and
Awesome.
he's
Today-
provided us with a lot of good stuff.
Exactly. And today he found a
The E.H. Taylor 4 grain.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, for Chad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of It's Bourbon.
Oh, it's for Chad.
So, yeah, it is for Chad.
Of course it's for
still.
Chad.
But Chad's been looking for that for forever, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he was like, I would give you my left arm
Yeah.
just to, just to have that bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, Swan's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he really has helped me find quite a few bourbons. But
He's
anyway.
helped me as well.
So you're listening, so you can probably tell. But we're doing a review of Weller 12, which is definitely up there for me in terms of favorite bourbons. I'm so excited for you to try this. Kurt.
Yeah, I'm excited
I really
as well.
am, because this takes what makes Weller Special Reserve good
Uh-huh.
and just cranks it up.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
It and I think it's all a product of the age, but I don't want to influence your opinion
Yeah.
too terribly much.
Okay.
But no, that's good. Yeah,
Alright.
thank you though.
I just wanted to give like everyone a good share, you know?
No, it's good. Oh man,
Almost fell there.
we almost
We're
lost
just gonna
Kurt.
put that here.
Well, you might want another pour after.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that nose is
That
exceptional,
nose
isn't
is
it?
very exceptional.
Yeah. And this is still a 90 proof bourbon.
Yeah.
But I think that somewhere along the line, it has evened out because it is older. You know, it's the same thing with Van Winkle 12 year. It's a 12-year-old bourbon, but it's 90 proof. But a lot of the flavor still shines through because of the age. And I think that Weller 12, it's just baby Pappy.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
baby Van Winkle.
I mean, I'm just getting so many florals and but floral sweetness,
so much vanilla.
Yeah, so much vanilla, and it has like a little bit of a candy.
Yeah, definitely. It's weird because it's kind of teetering the line between peppermint candy and like really sugary,
Yeah.
like Smarties.
Yeah, that's what
candy.
Smarties.
I was
Yeah.
getting like a tart, just a little tart smell.
And I think that's where I'm sitting in between, is that it's the sour and the sweet just kind of
Yeah.
mesh pretty well together. But I really do like that nose, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it may be sugary, but I think that it's really inviting. And I do still get a fair amount of oak on the nose too. Nothing really
Substantial.
yeah, but it is definitely still present, I think.
And that was one of my first things is when I first smelled it. When I first nosed it,
When you first nosed it,
Yeah.
Kurt, what did you notice?
I noticed the like Smartie like candy, a little bit of sour in it. Like a good sour, not like soured milk.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it definitely is that like sugary Smarties kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
candy to it. What do you think, Matt?
I just love the richness.
I do
like
too.
just how rich it is.
The complexity.
Like, yeah. Like you get like at the very end of the nose you can get like a little bit of that vanilla, but it starts out like just real sweet, real
Yep.
rich, and then like you get like all these things like as the nose goes away.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And the floralness to it too
Yeah.
hangs around.
The
I think
florality.
Plurality. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think
Get it
that.
right, Perry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was only an English major for 3 years before I switched. The florality of it, I think, really does kind of hang around all throughout the nose on it. Like it doesn't limit itself to the first sniff or, as it's hitting the very back of your nose. I think that it is a very consistent floral scent to it. But I'm ready to take a sip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
I think
Let's do
Curtis is like dying for
Yeah,
it.
I'm like, stop talking about it. Let's get to a
This is
drink.
your William LaRue Weller for me when it
Yeah.
was just sitting up on my shelf for a while.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, well, here we go.
Pure bliss. It's good. That is some good stuff.
I would argue that this is my favorite 90 proof bourbon. And like I've been saying recently too, I don't know what it is, but I think that the lower a proof a bourbon is, the more heat it actually has on it in terms of like kick when it hits your palate. I think that this kind of argues against my theory.
Mm-hmm.
At 90 proof, it's very.
Oh, it definitely does.
It's very even.
Just enough spice.
Yeah.
Just enough heat.
So much of the sugar hangs out with it, the sweetness of it. Caramel is so strong on it too, I think.
It's funny when I ride on the front, like tip of the tongue, I get sort of like a minty,
Yes,
like a
absolutely.
fresh, just a
Absolutely.
fresh flavor.
Yeah, I agree with you. What do you think, Matt?
One of the things that I like the most about this whiskey is just like how round it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like while you're going through the imbibing motion, like just the rich and roundness of this whiskey, I think it's what makes it like super approachable for so many people.
Oh,
And then of course like the wheat and the softness of it, but like as far as flavor, you get so much in like so little of a proof, like
yeah, exactly. And like weeded, I don't know. It seems like every weeded bourbon we try, we're always just like,
I know what you're saying. We're always like, man, this is just phenomenal.
yeah, and from like, Weller 12 to Wilderness Trail.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I think there's something there.
Maybe it's just a product of what our palates
Yeah.
are used to, but I don't know. I like weeded bourbon a whole lot.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Do y'all get any salt?
Just a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a what is it? Like saltwater taffy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a hair. And I think it's like after having had a few sips of it, and it's really started to coat my tongue, and I've really started to become aware of what is truly present on the palate.
Yeah, and it's not like a true salt. It's like a
No.
saltwater taffy, or like you're off the beach and you taste just a little bit of the salt in the air.
Salty air, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
salty air, not... It's not
Yeah,
like
I
a
get
full
that too.
salt, it's just salty air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just lingering.
Yeah.
It's a lingering savoriness
Like a
to it.
vacation paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
so rich.
I mean, if this were more available, this would be my take everywhere bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean,
Well,
and
have fun. Like,
huh?
have fun. You're not going to find it.
Well,
so-
yeah, I know I'm not, but like, you know, a few years ago, this would have easily been my daily drinker. This would have been something where I just didn't think twice about it. If I bought a bottle
Yeah.
and I went on vacation or whatever, you know, it just would have been a staple of my bourbon drinking experience.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people who have worked in liquor stores for a long time, and I've heard a lot of people who work in liquor stores say that like before like the big bourbon boom, this was like Weller was what they always brought over to somebody's house, and like nobody knew what it was, but everybody loved it, and it always worked out great for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't until Fred Minnick said, "Hey, this is like Baby Pappy," that people started going crazy over it, and now you can't
That's
find
what's
it
so
anywhere.
interesting to me is like...
No, I
you
love
go
Fred
back-
Minnick. I just want
Yeah.
to say I love him to death. He's a great guy, super nice. He's been on the show before, but dang it, Fred, you did this to us with Weller, and you did it to us with Henry McKenna, and we just
Yeah.
Why?
It's just interesting to me. Like, you go back a few years, you find all this. Like, you could go to your liquor store and be like, I'm going to pick up Weller 12 year. It's like, now,
you just can't
4
find
months.
it anywhere.
4 months from now, you might find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe
If
you're
you know
lucky.
somebody that knows somebody that can call you.
Yeah. Now at retail, Weller 12 runs for about $35.
Yeah.
And I think the highest I've seen it go at retail is about $40. Now, on secondary though,
Up to 110. 120 something.
I've seen it for
I've seen it for like, yeah.
I've seen it for 150
Yeah.
in 750s. I've seen it in 1.75s for $300.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's stupid. It's stupid.
It's stupid.
Yeah. No, like it's not a $300 bourbon. It is easily, I think.
300?
Yeah.
It's not a 200.
Well, no, it's not a $200
Yeah.
either. I don't think it's a $100 bourbon.
Well, yeah, but it's the hype and the everything in between.
Yeah. I would say though that I think this sits pretty firmly at about a $30 bourbon. No?
I love the price point at 35. Like, it's so great.
Do you
Like,
want
I
it to
love
be
it.
higher?
I think that it. I mean, I don't want it to be higher. I think that it's worth.
You think it's
the
worth
70, 80
Okay.
range.
See, I think I disagree with you a little bit. If it were this age statement and it were a higher proof, I would expect it to be more in the $60 to $70 range.
Yeah.
But the fact that it is 12 years and $90, 90 proof.
Yeah.
You think about like Elijah Craig. Elijah Craig used to be age stated at 12 years. It was 94 proof back then. It's still 94 proof, but the age statement has been taken off.
Yeah. I just am like, I would much rather this than like, you know, the Rebel Yell 10-year single barrel that I have. I think the Rebel Yell 10-year is like really good, but I think I'd rather have the Weller 12.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
why I
think
sit there
would.
and I'm
I
like,
would. Okay.
That's why I sit there and I'm like, okay, $70 for this, I could do.
Okay, I see your point there. And I wasn't like about to give the price of 5 or anything, but I would.
See, that's where I'm like, I think the price has to be like. I mean, it doesn't have to.
Yeah,
but it's up there.
Matt,
what
has
do you?
some
Yeah,
thoughts.
what,
Yeah. So
he just
Matt seems concerned.
Man, I don't like. I've said this multiple times that I wish that the whole Weller line was just priced higher, so it would be more like available, and people would be more discouraged from purchasing it based off of whatever. I don't know if that kind of like 5th grade bourbon economics is going to work.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are people opening up distilleries selling really young juice
Yeah.
for more money than $35 for a fifth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it couldn't hold a candle or a match to, like, I mean, my glass is already empty. Like, it was so good.
Yeah.
Like, I really, like, it's a great bourbon. But at the same time, like, I personally don't want to spend, for Weller 12 or 107, like, I don't want to spend an exorbitant amount of money on it either. So,
Here's how I feel about raising the price, though. My inclination is to think that if they raise the price on a $35 bourbon, $35 bottle of bourbon to, say, 50 or 60.
yeah.
And originally at $35, secondary market was hiking it up to $200. That to me means that on secondary at $60 a bottle, they're going to easily ramp it up to $400, $500, $550 a bottle.
Sure.
I mean, I think that Buffalo Trace made a smart move by not cranking up their prices, with this. But I don't know. I'm happy with it being at $35 if I can find it.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know?
Yeah.
It's all part of the market. But anyway, so to actually move on to the review portion, we have a review. What was I going to say? Oh, sorry. We have a review system of nose, palate, finish, and price on the show. Each category is out of 5, and at the end we tally everything up for a total out of 20. And then we let you know whether or not you should buy this. So I'm going to let Curtis go first because I want to give Matt a little bit of time just to get acclimated to,
The process.
our system and everything. But anyway, Curt.
Trust the process. Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Dude, that nose is so good.
It's opened up a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it has opened up so much. And like as
Just
I'm
even from the floral, you start to get a little more.
like even as I'm
more
sitting
vanilla,
here, it's starting to smell more like a rick house.
Mm-hmm.
Not like really, really strongly so, but it is starting to smell more like when you first walk into a rick house, and like you can smell the evaporation of alcohol into the air and everything, along with the oak and all that good stuff. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the nose I have to give a 4.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the nose. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about this is, it's pretty good.
It's hard to argue with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I'll give that a 4. The palate's like phenomenal in the sense of you're getting everything that you get from the nose, the florals. You get more of the like smoky rickhouse like barrel on the back of it. I think I'm gonna give it a 4 as well.
Okay.
I contemplated going to a 3.5, just because I like the nose better than the palate.
But I think that the palate offers just as much.
more.
See, I think that the palate offers just as much as the nose does, just in a different way.
Yeah.
And like the way that I think about it too, I've said it so many times on the show before, if the palate offered everything that the nose did, but then ramped it up, that would be what would expand my my point value on it. But like, I'm gonna go ahead and say I agree with you on both of those categories so far.
Yeah.
But anyway, what do you think about the finish?
Finish, I think that's where I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah.
I mean, you just get so much complexity from the nose to the palate. On the finish, I think the finish is good. I just don't think it keeps consistent with what the palate and the nose.
I would agree with that.
So I'll give it a 3.5. Like, not a huge dock, just like vary a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the price, I want to give it a 5,
but
I'll give it a 4.5.
Okay. Reluctantly so.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's just $35. Come on.
So
$35, the only thing I can say is, like, I have to give somebody my number to call me to get it, to me to come down, and I don't know if I'm going to get it, and, like,
yeah.
Which doesn't really factor into
but
the price.
you're talking more about the experience of, like, trying to buy it than you are, like, the actual purchasing of it.
Yeah.
You know, but I know
if
what
I could just
I know what
walk
you're
in
saying.
and buy it, I'd give it a 5.
Yeah.
But since I have to, like, kind of go through the hoops,
No, I get that. I get that.
I would venture a 4, but more 4.5 because you gotta give it.
Well, your total
some
score
leeway.
then was a 16 out of 20, which I think is pretty fair. Like, I mean, that's, you know, I don't think that it's terribly arguable based on our experience with it. Like, I mean, sure, we were going, oh, it's so good and everything, love it. But like, we also were measured in our response to it as well. So
I also will say that for me anyway, when I give ratings and, like, give those numbers, I tend to jump on the bandwagon. I tend to be like, yeah, that's so good. 5. Like, and I think on this, gradually as I've been having better bourbons and kind of things like that, and been doing this a little longer, I'm getting more realistic in my ratings. Yeah. And so I think 16 out of 20, perfect.
Yeah. I think,
in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Matt, how would you like to rank this bourbon?
So I'm glad that I'm not going first, because I may have just been like, I'm on the bandwagon. 5.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I think the nose is great. Since we can do decimal points, I want to do a 4.5 on the nose.
Okay, great.
Palate, I want to do.
Are you gonna do it?
I don't want to do a 4.5.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna give it a 5.
No. Man, I like the nose so much. I love the palate. Don't get me wrong, but like the nose on it, I think is what makes it really special. Like
it does.
Like I think that's like the point where it shines. So
sure.
I'll do a 4 on the palate.
Okay, sure. That sounded really condescending. I did not mean for it to at all. Like, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. But it makes sense when you say, like, you know, the nose I enjoyed better than the palate.
Right. Yeah. And, like, I don't want to be, like, disrespectful to things that I've had in the past that have just, like, absolutely blown my mind either. You know, where, like,
right.
In my head, I'm like, that's, like, in the top tier.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, I think, like, a 4 and a 4.5 measured, like we were saying.
Yeah.
So, finish.
Teetering back and forth. Yeah. That's where I am, too. Yeah.
I'll do can I do a 3.75?
Yeah, why not?
3.5 seems really harsh.
We've had weirder on the show. We had somebody do, like, 0.8s.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
0.8s?
We did. It was probably me.
No, it was like Chad and Sarah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, 3.75.
3.75. And that leaves price.
Price, yes.
So I'm going to say
At $35.
At MSRP, yeah, I'm going to put a 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I want it. That's where I'm like, I want to give it a 5.
Right.
It should be a 5.
Right.
It's just the hoops and things you have
Right.
to
I mean,
go to get it.
I'm just like I show up at like the liquor store by my house enough that like if it's there and like they haven't already give it to people who like buy cases of Camus, like
Yeah.
yeah, like maybe they'll say, all right, MSRP, like in that scenario, 5 all day.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm going to spoil this real quick. Curt and I actually had the same score. Not category by
Not
category.
category, okay.
But just to recap real quick, Matt had a 17.25 out of 20, which is a first on the show.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody's ever had a .25.
What's our
before.
highest again? Wasn't it like 18?
18 or 19.
It was the beat.
Yeah. I mean, we've never given anything a straight 20.
No.
I'm waiting for
I don't
that
think
day,
we'll ever
though.
get there.
I don't know if we will either.
It's going to have
But
to be like
what would it be, though?
that $24,000 bottle at Justin's Bourbon
See,
House of Bourbon.
I don't even know if it'll be that.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't even know if it'll be that because like,
we won't ever have it.
well, no, but like at $24,000, like what are we talking about? Are we talking about like aftermarket value, or are we talking about because like
True.
at aftermarket value, I'm giving it like a
Yeah,
0.3,
yeah.
maybe
like a 0.5.
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. Like if it's lucky.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
but
I don't
anyway,
think there ever will be a 20 out of 20.
I don't either. But
Because
we'll
a bourbon's
find
so
something.
good as the price is probably going to be too.
Sure, yeah. And like if you think that you have something that deserves a 20 out of 20, send us an email. This is my bourbon shop at gmail.com, and we'll have a little talk, and maybe we'll agree with you, maybe not, but you're gonna have to send us a sample
Yeah.
to get us to be on board. Anyway, so for me, the nose was a 4. I thought the nose was just super inviting, so full of those sweet floral notes, while still maintaining. I think too that it even had some of those darker dried fruit notes on the back end as well. I wouldn't say that it's like raisins necessarily, but there is something very like dried fruit apparent on the nose. Palate's a 4.5 for me. I mean, it does have what I like about the nose. It does have a twinge of something, or a tinge rather, of something that is supposed to be like really good. Doesn't quite kick it up to perfect for me.
Yeah.
But it is definitely there. Finish, however, is a 3. Like it just kind of falls short. I really do wish that the finish on this one went on longer. It's good though. I mean, it's really delicious. It does make me want to go back for another sip. But
Stay away.
He just took the bottle away from everybody.
Yeah, for everyone that didn't.
Kurt's hoarding his
I'm
bottle.
hoarding the bottle.
His one bottle.
Stay away.
I'm not gonna lie, I got excited too. I was like, wait, we're getting more.
I was going to pour more for a second. And then price for me is a 4.5 too. A 12-year-old bourbon at this point. Curt, man, I love you. Why are you doing this?
You're the best.
Yeah.
It's a special occasion.
He's pouring a little bit more for us. But anyway, at $35, I mean, it's
Dude, how?
it's pretty hard to beat. I would bump it up to a 5 if I had given it a 5 in any of these categories, I think. Like if I had been like, yeah, the palate's a 5, I probably would have. I mean,
Yeah.
even like a 4.75. Thanks, Matt. I mean, I would have considered it had something else stood out a little bit more to me.
I mean, I get it.
It's just
Which I take too much in my rating. Like I take too much in account on like limited and like supply and demand.
Sure.
But I think
I think
that's something
fair.
you have to take into account.
Yeah, for sure.
But in the strict sense of rating the bourbon, what the price, like the wholesale, like retail price is.
Like just MSRP across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I picked a 5. 'Cause
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like I said, I mean, there's plenty of people selling like brand new, like
30-minute
juice.
bourbon.
Yeah, and it's
Don't get me started.
no, it's okay.
$60
We've
a
talked
bottle.
about it before.
Oh yeah, like
No,
It's not,
I get that, but
Yeah.
like for me, I think it's a pretty solid 4.5. So that rounds me out as well at a 16 out of 20, as it was with Curt.
Yeah.
So I think overall this is a pretty much a recommendation from all of us. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. Hard to pass up.
Wait. I need Matt to say it. It's so good.
it's so good.
Yeah, there we go.
There it is.
yeah. Thank you for indulging me.
You're welcome.
I just needed.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Oh, Matt, welcome to the family. We're happy to have you here. Yeah, all right. Anyway, so that's our review for the episode. We're going to move on now to, though, recommendations. Or, excuse
To another
me,
bourbon.
To another... Oh, crap. No.
We got more. We got.
Yeah, we have some. But maybe we'll do that off air.
Yeah. We'll do it off air.
But we're going to move on to our recommendation portion of the show, which is called Tips and Bits, where we just recommend whatever we've been vibing on recently, I guess.
Yeah.
So, Curt, do you want to go first?
Yeah.
I keep throwing to you first because you're, a veteran of the show. But,
Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to go first, I can.
No, I can go.
Okay, all right.
I can
ahead.
go. Westworld season 2.
I've heard it's great.
Oh man,
Oh,
I haven't started.
at all?
No, I mean I've done season 1. I haven't started season 2.
Okay. Well, season 2, pretty great.
Yeah?
Now, I mean, I won't give anything away.
Sure.
But like, there's just, I mean, it just adds on to what season 1 was doing, and it's just,
Kicks it up.
the show is just a great show. And if you haven't seen season 1, you should definitely go watch that.
Sure.
It's so up to the last episode, you don't know really what's all going on. Then they just hit you, and you're like, whoa. Okay, I did not expect that. There's so many plot twists and
Sure.
great show.
Sure.
So if you haven't watched Westworld, watch Westworld.
Awesome.
Well, I've been rewatching Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Wow. What a cut, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So I power watched DS9.
Okay.
And it's because the nerdiest guy I've ever met in my life in a bar told me that J.J. Abrams was a huge fan of DS9, and it was right before Star Trek Into Darkness came out.
Okay.
I'm nerding out hard, guys, so
No,
if I
it's
lose
okay.
you,
No,
I can
no,
bring
yeah,
you back.
no, you're
yeah,
good.
yeah, it's
You're
all
good.
good. It's all good.
So I like power watched it. So I've been rewatching it episode by episode over like the last 2 months, and it's really great.
So have you found pretty staunch similarities between DS9 and Into Darkness, or
None.
okay?
None. I have no idea what that guy was talking about at all. And maybe like
Shout out to that guy for
Yeah.
throwing
Yeah.
you for a loop.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But rewatching it, it's almost kind of like watching a whole new, like brand new Star Trek because it's been years and
Okay.
I've forgotten everything. So
Fair enough.
maybe you have too. You can go back too.
You all
It's so good.
It's so good. So good. So good.
It's like, I hate this commercial, but I think the Dr. Pepper
Oh, Little
commercial.
Sweet?
Yeah, I hate
love
those.
Little Sweet.
They annoy
Love
me.
Little Sweet. You know who that
But
is?
That's how it
You remember Justin from American Idol season
from
1?
House of Bourbon. Yeah.
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
You know from American Idol season 1?
Yes.
Justin McKelly? Justin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
Huh.
Yeah, he does Little Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah. Knowledge bomb.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I don't like the commercial, but okay.
No, I think the commercial's hilarious.
It's all right.
I love when he's diving into the pillows.
Diving into the pillowcase.
Little Sweet diving into the pillows.
Escape.
Oh, is it Scape?
Yeah, I think it's
all
pillow
right,
escape.
whatever. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough. So, as we're recording this, we're actually recording this a week before it comes out. Yesterday, a new season of Arrested Development came out on Netflix. One of my favorite shows of all time. New season's great. They only dropped half of the episodes for this season, but so freaking funny. So good. Everything's on Netflix. I think everything but season 4 is on Hulu. So go and get caught up on that. And then one of my favorite movies of all time is Raising Arizona. I don't know. Have you guys ever seen that?
No.
Okay. It's a Nicolas Cage movie from the early 90s.
Huh.
It's a comedy.
Okay.
It's really, really good. I mean, I just cry laughing every time I see it. It's a Coen Brothers movie, the same guys who did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Inside Llewyn Davis, and I think they did Hail Caesar as well. I can't remember for sure.
Which did you like? Hail Caesar?
I didn't like that movie necessarily, but I did like Alden Ehrenreich, who is the new Han Solo in Star Wars.
Speaking of which, I went and saw Solo last night.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Solo for a second.
Okay. Have you seen Solo?
I mean, I was the one bringing up Star Trek.
Okay, fair
So,
enough. So
yes,
you have
you've seen
seen it.
Solo.
I have not seen it. No.
Oh,
jeez. Okay.
jeez, okay.
Do you care at all?
No, you guys.
Okay, so sidebar.
I hit him with the Spock.
It was
Yeah.
Spock there.
What'd you think about it?
It was good.
Did you like it better than you thought you would?
No, I expected it to be like pretty good anyway.
Okay.
But I will say the lead actor.
Did not like him.
Oh
No, I don't. I don't like him either.
It was sort of painful to watch a little bit.
I agree. I thought he was
Like,
really, really
He
flat.
just wasn't. He was really flat, really bland. Like didn't come out as like all the dry humor that Han Solo has and like Harrison Ford played him as.
For sure.
Didn't work.
No, I don't.
Just
I don't
didn't
think so
work.
either.
It fell flat.
But I thought that Donald Glover as Lando, I killed it.
I'm not
how
even
many
gonna-
times can we talk about Donald Glover
Yeah.
or Childish Gambino
Oh.
on this podcast?
Yeah.
But I mean, like
I feel bad for everyone listening because like Donald Glover was great.
no, I thought he was unbelievable.
And on that, we'll leave it. That
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about him. So
if you
much.
like Star Wars, go and see it. We're actually I think we're gonna be doing another Star Wars episode of this podcast, which I've done before. I did it for Last Jedi. What?
I don't know where he's going with
No,
this.
it's okay. We're probably gonna do another Star Wars episode in the future where we talk about Solo, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna move on from here. Matt, I want to say thank you so much for being
Yes.
on the
Man,
show.
thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
like,
for
this
sure.
was so much fun.
It's we just hang out and we have a good time.
Yeah,
I mean
I had a
that's
blast.
all this is. If people want to follow up with you on social media, where can they do that?
So, mleonard31, Instagram.
Okay.
My Twitter, I never use. I hate to say it, but like I don't. I think it's Matt D Leonard 31. I don't know why they're
Maybe.
different. The last podcast that I was on, I tried to give out my Twitter name and it was wrong. So,
And everyone's like, I don't know what.
Can't find this guy.
and then like
him.
3 podcast episodes later, they said on their podcast, they're like, yeah, if you ever try and look up Matt Leonard, he's like impossible to find. But since then, like, you know, I've created an Instagram. It's up there. You can see my drinks. You can DM me, wave at me, or whatever you do
Yeah.
on Instagram. Yeah, or come see me at Peter Kern Library
For sure.
Like you
Yeah,
know, in
for another
the,
month.
in the
Dude.
month of June.
Yeah, you want to do a little road trip in a
I
couple
think we
weekends?
should.
I think we should too. Yeah.
I mean, he made the trip. We should.
yeah, I think we
should
need
return
to
the
as
favor.
well.
Guys, please come
Yeah.
down. Yeah, like, yeah, for sure. I will take the night off and
Absolutely.
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
Oh,
work
yeah,
on it.
for sure.
We'll work
Yeah.
on it. For
we'll
sure.
hang out.
Kurt, what about you, buddy?
Instagram, KurtCon, Twitter, Kurt_con15.
Okay.
Yours is different too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
It
don't
is.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know why it got that.
Well, I streamlined all of mine. I am at pritter1492 on all social media platforms. But if you want to follow the show, you can head to @MyBourbonPod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to check out all of our social media stuff. You can also follow us on Threadless or check out our apparel on Threadless, rather, at bourbonshop.threadless.com. where we have shirts and water bottles and sweatshirts and, I mean, all sorts of stuff. But it helps us keep going with the show. And speaking of keeping going with the show, if you want to become a patron of the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. And as for as little as $1 a month, I definitely butchered that sentence, but you can keep the lights on in Curtis's semi-living room
yeah.
where we're recording this episode from.
But also to leave a 5-star rating.
A 5-star rating review.
Yeah,
that was my
That's
next
another
thing.
thing.
Yeah, because we've had some really crap reviews and ratings for no reason on iTunes too. We had somebody give us a 1-star and then a 2-star review.
Really?
Yeah,
But then
for
left,
no
like,
reason.
no comment.
Really?
For no reason.
Yeah.
Can
on
you
iTunes.
email them and be like, why did you do this?
No, because we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the worst part of
Exactly.
the internet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like,
Absolutely.
all right.
Yeah. So leave us a 5-star rate and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to us. Thank you all so much for hanging with us this episode. We will see you next week. I've got I'm planning on doing a special episode with some guys from the Carolina Whiskey Society from North Carolina.
Okay.
The plan is to blind each other with certain bottles. So we're going to see how that goes. It's going to be interesting, but we're going to have some fun with it. But anyway, I appreciate you all being here. We will see you next week. But until then, I'm Perry.
I'm Curtis.
And this is My Bourbon Podcast.